I'm Ron Story. Welcome to Speaker Co-working. I am the head of membership and product at SpeakerHub. This is our daily call where we help speakers like you to get booked on more stages so that you can grow your businesses. Unlike other traditional speakers bureaus, at SpeakerHub, we're really focused on the entrepreneur who wants to build a business around their intellectual property versus just getting paid for showing up to perform. We have no problem with you showing up to perform and getting paid for that. But we think that the longer term vision should be to build a sustainable business that will continue to serve longer after you can't. So I'm joined by Angela Lewis. You always see her here. She will be manning the chat and making sure that everything keeps going. Yeah, any wins to start off with? We've had a great month, great quarter so far this year. So I'll talk about some of the wins eventually, but want to hear you guys' wins first. Any new wins over the last week?
I rewrote the survey to work for my work and I sent it out to sent note to a couple people today. So I'm getting there.
That's cool.
And
Any other wins or progress? Any surveys completed? Any leads generated? Any referrals generated? Any new opportunities, John? Good to see you.
Good to see you as well, man. I actually got just word that I was nominated to my high school Hall of Fame, and they want me to come speak to the graduating class at the end of May. So I'm excited about that, man. That was
That's
super
cool,
cool,
man.
man.
They all taller than you though, bro.
That's funny. Some aren't, but yeah, that was super cool, man. We had a lot of outstanding players come out of our high school, and yeah, just to be acknowledged with those guys, man, it's super cool. So that was a big win. I was home for the weekend, so yeah, I'm excited about that and get to speak to my old high school. That's gonna be cool.
No, that's cool. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal, actually, a really big deal. Um, yeah. Any other wins? I think I mentioned on Friday I'll be speaking at the Prompt PromptCon. It's an AI summit on how to use AI in different businesses. Also, will be on um, I think it's the Think and Grow Rich podcast in the next week or so. Um, yeah, I'm just out here trying to do the same thing. I'm going to show y'all. I can show y'all better than I can tell y'all. you know, so I'm going to be an example of what we teach. Yep. Any other wins?
You know, Ron, I was gonna ask you, man, do you really need glasses or are you just trying to look smart?
No, man. I mean, you're the only one to do that. I actually need mine. I actually need mine. I don't know about you, but I'll tell you something that was really interesting. I used to have all these reflections where you see how like on John, he has the reflection from his screen. And this guy, I'm like, dude, how do you not have the reflections on your glasses on the thing? And he literally takes his finger and he sticks it through the glasses. He never had any lenses in him, right? He didn't have any lenses. I said, "Oh, that's cheating." But I actually got lenses in mine. I just figured out how to do the lighting where you can still see my face. But I actually need glasses. I can't see anything if I take these joints off. But LASIK is coming in the next month. I'm gonna go ahead and let them fix my face. Um, I live in the plastic surgery capital of the world, Columbia. So, Bonnie, what's up?
I can share a page. You want to take a look?
Yeah, I want to kind of keep the support things. If you could make a video of it for us and then send it, then because it'll end up taking up 20 minutes of support on here, and I want to keep this to teaching. So if you
Sure.
could make a loom and send it to us, that'll be great.
Okay.
Any other wins? Any other wins? AJ, anybody else? If not, we'll let Ambika introduce herself. This is her first time joining us. We like to haze all of our first time visitors and force them to tell us about what they speak about and how we can be of help.
Thank you so much. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm Tamika Mather. I'm located in the DC area, and this group showed up on my LinkedIn as something I could be interested in because I just spoke at a conference at my alma mater. I had submitted a proposal and then I got to speak and it was really cool. and something that I'd like to keep doing. And I spoke in the areas of health psychology and neuroscience, which is my background from education and from my work. So I'd love to learn more about the opportunities at SpeakerHub and get to know other folks in this community.
Yeah, cool. Nice to meet you.
Thank
Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah, this is what we do. We do this every day, Monday through Friday. We run that group. It's called Need a Speaker, Be a Speaker. And then we have the other one that's called Be a Speaker. So we're pretty proud of the 63,000 speakers that we work with to help them to get booked. And do you offer any other products and services currently, Ambika?
I'm just in the process of thinking about having my own little business or something with how this kind of started was some content creation on YouTube, and then that's been synergistic with the topic that I spoke about. So I could do more videos. I can offer like support for, courses and other sort of training programs that are in that area of stress management and those kind of topics. So I'm very like novice in all of these things.
Oh, no, that's pretty cool. Have you ever heard of a guy named Ali Abdal? You ever heard of him before? I'm going to
No.
share him with you really quickly. I want to show you how, and you're a neuroscientist currently?
Technically not a neuroscientist, but my background is in health psychology, neuroscience. That's what I trained in school and have, done that kind of work since then.
Okay. So I want to share my screen with you really quickly. And I think that this could be helpful. So this guy here, Ali Abdal, he was a surgeon by trade. And when he started off, that's all he did. He would hop on with this, I guess he was singing Rolling in the Deep, which is funny. But his original videos used to be in his scrubs from work, right? But what he realized was that, you know what? He cared more about productivity than he did being a doctor. So he let that go. And he does about $10 million a year teaching people how to be more productive. Right. So you should check him out because he made that transition. He found a little niche that he was very good at, which was productivity. And again, he does probably $8 to $10 million a year helping people be more productive. So your intellectual property is bigger than just one speech. You never know what it turns into. As we get into our topic for today, this guy, Simon Sinek, right? Start with why. This started off as a TED Talk, right? That's that one video, How Great Leaders Achieve. I think it probably has millions of views now. 12 million views 15 years ago. This concept with Simon on the consulting side does $50 million a year. It started off as a one-to-one conversation that eventually turned into speaking and everything else. So I want to share this with you because I think it's very interesting as we start thinking more and more about building our businesses, that we have to start thinking beyond just the stage, right? So we are working on this new framework called the Speaker Amplifier, where you start off with the one-to-one conversations that we taught on last week. And based on those one-to-one conversations, you get the data and the research necessary that sets you apart from everyone else in the industry. One of the cool things about me being here at SpeakerHub is that every month I get, almost 1,000 applications for SpeakerHub, right? So I can see here, so far, we've got 900 of them so far this month, right? But that gives me data that makes my conversation a bit more unique than every other speakers bureau because they're not getting this type of data all the time. So imagine the conversations I could have about speaking, the speaking industry, certain trends, things of that sort. That all starts with one-to-one conversations. Now I can take those insights to my podcast interviews. I use the interviews from the podcast. I send them to the local associations and say, hey, here's what I learned about this. I would love to come talk to your group about it. Once I have the videos of me speaking at those different local associations, I can send that speaker reel to conferences to get the larger stages. But all the while, I'm talking to a client one-to-one. I'm talking to clients one-to-many. I'm talking to clients one-to-many live, right? And then one-to-a-lot at a conference. But what that eventually leads to is me being a thought leader. And now I can write for Wall Street Journal, Business Insider, because I actually have a point of view, right? We're called thought leaders for a reason because we thought about something that nobody else thought about. But a lot of us, we're thinking of it still from the, well, I just speak. Well, what unique thoughts do you have? I don't. So that's why we don't usually get picked for the TED Talk, because we don't have an idea worth sharing. Not an idea. A lot of, well, I'm a speaker. No, is it an idea worth sharing? Is it something unique that nobody else has saw, no one else has seen in the marketplace, that you have a unique data-driven perspective on, that has helped you to build a business? So the flywheel, the speaker flywheel, is still the core of what we do at SpeakerHub, right? And it always will be, right? That flywheel is super duper 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 important, right? And Maria has done a really good job of showing how the flywheel and the megaphone work together. Why is this important? Because we're going to be using these different concepts as we go forward even more than ever. So here is the final combination of the two. The flywheel is the downward view into the megaphone. You start off one-to-one down here. You add podcasts to that once you start sharing your message. Then you start going to associations. But you notice how your voice is getting louder and louder with more authority. This is why this is super duper important. Why? Because when we have people on and I talk to you individually, I say, what do you do? And if you all do leadership, you all tell me the same thing. And I'm like, that's why they don't pick you, because you're saying the same thing as the other 9 leadership people. If you do design, you all design folks talk about the same stuff. You don't have a unique perspective, right? So the more you can anchor down on your perspective, the better off you are, right? Especially as a business owner. Why? Because I know that my foul language, my direct talk, my hard coaching, my focus on driving business repels people away from SpeakerHub. And that's what we want. I need my people. Because if I'm trying to be that to everybody, some of y'all, everybody gonna be lukewarm. But I want the folks that are hot about what we're trying to do so that we can effectively lead down that path. So that's why we spent all last week focusing on how do you have one-to-one conversations so that you can find how you truly help people. Let me tell you something that's very interesting. I go back to my guy here. You know, I talk about this dude every day, right? One of my favorite quotes from him is, that which is most personal is most general. That which is most personal is most general. What do you all think he's saying by that? That which is most personal is most general. What do you think he's trying to communicate with that?
I would say that everybody's opinion, that the things we point out that are unique are common to most people.
Okay, that's one perspective of it. I agree with that. You know, and there's no wrong answer. It's just what you take from it, right? So what I took from it is this. The things that I care about the most that I'm usually not willing to talk about publicly is probably the thing that everybody cares about, and they're afraid to talk about it publicly also. The person with anxiety, they have that. Everybody feels it. It's just they're willing to talk about it. Or everybody deals with it in their own way, but they don't want to talk about it because they don't want to admit that everybody's life isn't like this. We all have our ups and downs, right? Mm-hmm. But how we deal with those ups and downs are unique to us, and someone has probably shamed us for being too excited about something at one point. Somebody has probably shamed us. Man, you always down. Why you always negative? And it's like, no, I'm not always negative. I just can't tell you what happened to me yesterday. Because if you're mad at me about this, I can't talk about yesterday. I don't want more. I don't want you to, if I tell you what happened, now you're going to do more of what I just don't want. So I'll just be quiet. But you know what happens when we talk privately? They're willing. Once you show that you're an empathetic leader, they're willing to tell you and give you details. And as long as you don't embarrass them, you can use those details to help others. Does that make sense? Right? So I can talk to each of you all individually and have conversations I would never have on here. Carter's, Darren, John, Bonnie, conversations we would never have here. It'll never come up here. Right? But I'll make reference in little ways where they don't know I'm talking about you. Why? Because I know that there's other people in this group that's dealing with the same stuff, and we're cheating you if we don't talk about it.
Mhm.
Is that fair? Right? So that's the reason why that one-to-one thing is so important, because you really find out how you can really help. Let me give you a great example. And then we'll let Dr. Meg, I want her to come on and give her comments, right? You ever been on the elevator? And what's the first thing most people say when a stranger comes on the elevator?
What floor?
What number?
Huh?
What floor?
Yeah, one floor, right? And then after what floor, what they say? Hey, what's up?
I usually say hello first.
Yeah, they say hi. And then the person like, oh, that's cool. And then what if they're in a hotel, where you visiting from? Right? Man, it's great weather today. Man, and then it goes to this it's like one level deeper, just like that survey.
Mhm.
Right? And it gets deeper and deeper. And if you keep talking to them, they say, man, where are you coming from? I'm from Chicago. Cool. I got family in Chicago. They go a little bit deeper to kind of get further with you. Oh, where at? And then they say, oh, he lives in the suburbs of Evanston. Oh, cool. Yeah, I've been to Evanston. I love Evanston. I used to play football. Oh, you're a football player. And then now this funnel has come all the way down to where you're like, yo, man, let's grab, if you're going over here, let me know, man. We're going to be going to Universal Studios too. Maybe we can grab lunch. And then now you got a friend. But it all started with this really broad thing. And depending on how you reacted, they decided to keep the conversation going. But if right at the beginning, you said, hey, how's it going? You was like, they ain't talking to you no more. You just dismissed them. You just did the dude, what's up? Yeah, cool. Or yeah, I don't feel like it. If you know how we can be dismissive without trying to be dismissive? So that one-to-one teaches us how do we actually be empathetic leaders so that we can really do what we say we care about. Right? One of the great things about being on this call is everybody can say what they want to say. This call is bigger than Nino Brown, as I say all the time. It's bigger than me. This is about you guys. So everybody, no matter whether you're a new speaker, you're a speaker that's been around forever, you're doing no money from speaking, you're making $50,000, everybody got an equal voice here. Why? Because you're important to your audience. Our job is to facilitate how do we become more effective at reaching that audience. Is that fair? So one-to-one is the most important thing. I wouldn't trust somebody talking to an audience who hasn't talked to the individual. Let me say it again. I wouldn't trust somebody talking to a large audience who hasn't done the micro research with the individual. Because I know that on that stage, that's theory. It's theory. They just guessing. When you talk to the people, you know. Does that make sense? You ever talk to somebody and they say, man, what I would have did was this. And you're like, well, when you was in that situation, what'd you do? Well, no, here's what it was. I wish somebody would. And then they get in that same situation and they still married to the dude who did the same thing to them. That they just gave their goofy girlfriend bad advice about. Girl, I would have left him, and they still married even though their husband did the same thing. Or a guy, man, I wish my girl would do that. She'd do it to her right in front of us. And we wait, do it, right? The point I'm making is a lot of the things that we hear on stage, instantly we can tell if it's theory based or if it's earned. Does that make sense? Let me tell you how you can tell instantly if someone is theory based versus earned. Their entire speech is quotes. I don't even call them speakers, I call them parrots. Because all they doing is John Maxwell said this, and such said this, and such said this, and the research from such and such showed this. Where's your research, dude? If I wanted John Maxwell, I would have just hired John Maxwell. But where's your down in the dirt with the people you're talking about research where you found out directly from them? That's why we're pushing the one-to-one thing. Because at SpeakerHub, we want our speakers to be speakers of truth. Does that make sense? Because that's where the trust comes from. So we lead by that, by showing you all of our work. We open up everything. Here's how we did it. Here's what I did. Here's this. Here's the email I sent, just like yours. Here's this that we did. Here's the survey. This is when I did it. Here's all of that. Why? Because now when you get on stage, they're like, holy crap, she understands us. Dr. Meg gets it. Right? So, Dr. Meg, you had your hand up and then you retreated. I hope I didn't scare you off.
No, you didn't. When you were talking about that, it jogged my memory of something, because I am a firm believer that when you are vulnerable with someone, you are actually building trust. And sometimes as speakers, instructors, trainers, we're so busy teaching or presenting from our head and not our heart. And can I spew research and statistics all day long, but then I'm not giving you my authentic self. And I like to give you who I am at my core. And my core is Meg. And so when I speak, and I don't mind sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly of my life, because I know that there is someone that my message will touch. And it makes me, what you were saying brought me back to that. I think that when you are speaking and you want to connect, you have to really allow people to see you for who you are and not who you want to be. And don't compare yourself to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in my story. And I don't have a problem in sharing my story, because my story has made me who I am today.
Yeah. That's the unique thing about everybody's so afraid of AI, right? Everybody's afraid of AI. AI going to take my job. AI is replacing this. AI, you know what? AI can't show up and give the speech. My daughter, I just heard her right now arguing with my goddaughter right outside this door. AI can't say that. That's real. I got a real daughter and a real goddaughter out there who fight all day, right? They're going to come in here in a minute. Y'all going to see her. She makes an appearance every day. But that's a real thing. That's not, I made it up to make the story more interesting. That's the beauty of what we have, right? As speakers, we can tell our real life stories that people can not accept it, but they can't discredit it. Does that make sense? They can say, man, I don't believe Ron gets on every day at 12 o'clock Eastern and talks to speakers from around the world. Cool. I ain't about to argue with you. You can just show up. I'll send you the link, bro. Like, I'm not going to argue about my name. My name is Ron Story. Man, your name really Albert. Whatever. Cool. You're right. We're not going to fight about that, right? So our certainty as speakers, our certainty in how we help our clients comes from the actual work that we did with the clients, so that it makes it so much easier to build trust and have the empathy for the other people. Any questions about this so far before I go further into it? Because if we don't get this one-to-one thing right, how are you going to ever grow the business? Right? How are you going to ever get a customer that's going to pay you for the help that you can provide them? You're afraid to talk to them. You can't hide behind a landing page. All of us got websites that ain't selling nothing. I've been there. I got the website with no traffic. Ain't nobody coming on there buying nothing. Ain't nobody setting up no meetings. So we invest all these things into tools that just separate us further and further away from the person that we're actually trying to help. Darren, go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm unfortunately, man, I'm driving, but I did have a question for, maybe people can give feedback on. So obviously I'm gonna be speaking tomorrow, and be my first time kind of selling from the stage, one-on-one coaching opportunities. Any suggestions on how to fit that in naturally?
Yeah, I'll give you some advice. I wouldn't try to sell from the stage. Let me tell you what I mean. Hey, if you buy this, it's $97. Hey, it's $2,000 to work with me. Don't do that, right? Go up and be, high five on the gig also. But go up and be authentically Darren. Talk about where you've helped people, right? Talk about authentic stories and results that you got from people. Why? Because your energy changes when you talk about the help that you had in someone else versus, oh, you could do this if all you got to do is. No, here's what Bonnie did. Here's what Dr. Meg did. We talk with John. Here's what John did. There's a reason why we ask for, are there any wins? Because that's what keeps me going and wanting to do this, knowing that we're being effective at showing you techniques that work. So the selling isn't really selling. It's really a demonstration of how you help and an invitation to those in the audience to help them. Does that
Can
make
I add
sense?
something, Ron?
Oh yeah, of course. Nicole? What up? Nicole is
Hey,
incredible.
so you always
Introduce
want to
yourself. She's
have
never been here. 1
your,
second. Introduce yourself first, Nicole. I didn't even notice you snuck your butt in here.
I'm sorry. I'm not on camera because my hair's all over my head, y'all.
That's
I
fine.
love you, y'all family, but I can't do it. So my name is Nicole Compton, down in Shelton. I am an attorney, but I also help entrepreneurs to save their money and grow their businesses. I would say so they don't have to dance for free on TikTok, but that's Ron's. So that they don't
heard
have
that
to give
before.
Uncle Sam another dollar of their money, but they can grow legacies so and that's straight. Still got crust in my eyes from waking up, but I wasn't gonna miss today. What I was gonna say is you want to throw in a credibility statement, even in your speech. For the last 18 years, I've been helping small businesses, and you know what I found out? And then people know you've been helping for 18 years. That's what you do. You throw little nuggets into your speech like that. You don't have to say anything. I just did a speech. I was talking on permission to change and self-care, and everybody flocked afterwards to know what kind of attorney are you? What kind of businesses do you help? I didn't tell y'all. I gave them a nugget here and a nugget there, and I got the clients in the audience to come to me because people come to those they know, they like, and they trust. Your job is to make them trust you and like you and get to know you. Everything else will follow. So that's my preaching for today.
No, high five. Yeah. So what Nicole's talking about is what we call dog whistles, where you give examples. When I was working with a consulting client, all of the things that she said, that's the dog whistle, that the person who needs to hear it hears it and they come to you. Everybody else, they ain't even hear that. But the person who's looking for a coach, they heard that you had a coaching client. The person, she's up here talking about some other thing, and what type of attorney are you? Because she mentioned as the last 18 years as an attorney. For the person who's looking for an attorney that they can trust or that they feel like they have some relation to, they met her in the back of the room. Does that make sense, Darren? So it's not a hard
Yes.
sell. You shouldn't be up there saying, but wait, there's more. It slices, it dices. And if you buy one Ginzu knife, you're going to get these other 19. No, that's not even what it's about, right? Because we know that nobody likes that. People don't like to be sold, but they love to buy. Let me say it again. People don't like to be sold, but we love to buy. So our job is to help them to be a buyer's assistant of our services. If you're walking, if you say, look, I got to take my mom to the to Marshall's. I don't even Marshall's still open, right? To find her something to wear to the family reunion. I'm not in there like saying you should get this because this one is on sale. No, I'm like, Mom, what you want? Well, I need a blue shirt. So then I just go find all the blue shirts. And I say, well, which one? I need short sleeve. And I filter out the long sleeve ones, right? I'm her buyer's assistant. And I'm the worst, dude. My mom don't want to hire me to help her get dressed. Moral of the story is you want to help them to buy. You don't want to sell them anything. But Nicole, great teaching on dog whistling. Because the people who hear what they need from you will come to you afterwards and ask. Now, why is that important? Because if you've done the work on the other side and you have inside of your SpeakerHub Pro, you have your QR code where people can give you a review. They will reply in private, right? They'll give you the review that you need, using your QR code when they want to download your slides, Darren, or they want to get a copy of your F42 formula or a copy of your book. You tell them, hey, here's how you can get a free copy of the book or whatever cheat sheet you may be giving them after the speech. So it's not a hard pitch. It's dog whistles and an offer to connect afterwards so that you can collect those leads. If you've never seen Speaker QR, when someone shines the QR code, it comes up and it says, how was this person's presentation? And they're able to leave a comment or a response right inside so that you can follow up with them afterwards. Does this make sense? So now after the event, the comment shows up. I love the part about breakdancing and eating shawarma. And then you can use the AI to go ahead and write that follow-up email. Right? Did that answer your question, Darren? He left. Oh, okay, cool. He dipped out. He even hear what he was talking about. He asked the question and then dipped. No, I'm just playing. Anything else? Any other questions so far about why one-to-one is so important? Anybody else did any surveys over the weekend?
Raw.
Okay. AJ, go ahead.
This is kind of off subject, but it just happened, so I wanted to bring it on here. So I just booked John Lee Dumas to interview tomorrow. From pitching him from SpeakerHub platform.
How'd you do that? He don't do interviews.
I know.
John Lee Dumas don't do interviews. That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
How cool is that? No, that's incredible. John Lee Dumas runs, if y'all don't know, he runs a podcast called EO Fire. And this podcast does about $3 million a year. And he's totally show your work. He shows everything that they do. But he's had over 173 million downloads on his podcast. And, my business partner has been on the podcast and some of our clients have been on one of his 4,000 episodes. But John is the epitome of show your work. I mean, he shows everything in the business as to how he built it and his revenue reports. I mean, his income is publicly on here, for every month. But I guess he stopped doing it in 2025 because the 2025s aren't up there. But yeah, no, that's interesting, AJ. High five. That's a big interview, like a really big land because he don't do interviews at all. Yep. Any other questions before I go into the next part of the megaphone? Does that megaphone concept make sense, guys? Is this logical? Let me pull it back up. I'm on the wrong page. Got too many windows open. Here we go. Is this logical that you're really trying to expand your voice and your reach with your message? But you will embarrass yourself here if you haven't done the work here to to battle test the messaging and the research that you're doing with real in the field work, right? I would rather go to an association with 20 people in it and make a misstep there than to do it in front of 1,500 people at a conference, or to put it in the press, write an article for Business Insider and have them kill me in the comments. Right? Hey, I'm not trying to be famous for the wrong reasons, right? Any other thoughts or feedback on this? Because I got a question I think will be interesting. Jasmine, go ahead.
I like the idea of how you lay things out. And what I've been doing with myself, I pitch a lot, as you know. But, you know, a lot of people might say, well, I'm pitching and I'm not getting any results. You know, I'm pitching conferences now, and you can't, you know, if you do the same thing over and over and expect, you know, different results, you know, what's the definition of insanity? So I set that, when I pitch, I tweak it. For instance, I think the lady before me, what's her name? The attorney before me said, I put certain things, little nuggets in the pitch. So if I've pitched 10 conferences and I haven't heard anything, and I follow up and they say, well, you know, come at us next year, in the follow-up, I will add, you know, with over 20 years of experience in the health and wellness space, all of a sudden someone comes back to you. And it's the same thing I think applies to the stage by adding the nuggets here and there. So while we're pitching, I don't find fault with the system, because the system is a system. What I do, I continue to tweak the system to see what works. So I don't pitch blindly. While I'm competitive and I like to be at the top of the leaderboard every day, I step back because I want to make sure what you're providing for us works for us and we get the results from it.
100%. Now, let me go back to who's the one-on-one conversations for? Is it for you or is it for the client? It's for you, right? Why? Because that strengthens your pitch. It gives you a perspective when you go to pitch that nobody else has, right? It gives you, now imagine they click your link and they see a white paper you put together based on your research. They see different graphs and data. They're like, holy crap, how this person figured this stuff out. It's because of your one-on-one conversations, right? But we sometimes think, well, no, I just want to skip that and go up there. Cool. But is that going viral? Oh, I got this one great opportunity. Or is it long lasting where you're really the thought leader and the authority in that space? I know I saw one of our, there's another speaking company, they do an annual survey, right? And every year they partner with different companies, and I love their research. It's great. SpeakerFlow has great research, but they do their survey once a year. I said, if they survey people once a year, what would happen if we just surveyed everybody all the time? So we run our thing continuously. So we got thousands of responses because we get thousands of applications, which means my research should be a little bit stronger and a little bit more granular than what theirs would be, because we're asking thousands of people and we can see what trends are changing over the months, over the years, so forth and so on, based on a lot of things. So that research is what gives you that unique voice. Without that research, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because I would still be talking about stuff that didn't matter to y'all. October and November, I wasn't talking about things that were relevant to this audience. It was about speaking, but it wasn't relevant to you guys. Does that make sense? So this is how we get better. You're just watching me do it in front of you. We got 20 minutes left. Anything that you want me to cover in particular about that megaphone? Because if we're not doing the beginning, I don't need to be talking about the backside of it. If the maximum number of surveys that's been done up to this point is 5, we'll go into the other ones once we get past that, because that's the meat.
Yeah, Ron, can you go over the icons that was on the megaphone?
Yep.
I saw the one-on-one. What were the other ones?
Yep. So they're basically the different categories that you get to pitch inside of SpeakerHub. It's one-on-one, podcast, associations, conferences, and press. This is just the speaker flywheel. It's just the flywheel, just showing what if you came in as emerging, you were doing, or if you came in as exploring, you were doing podcasting one-on-ones. If you came in as emerging, you had podcasting associations along with one-on-ones. If you were experienced, you had podcast associations and conferences. Does that make sense? If you were on the expert level, we added press. This is the same original flywheel. We just modified it to make it fit into the amplifier now.
Yeah,
Right?
I see the icons.
Does that make sense?
On the
So
megaphone on the
let's go
right.
back to the original flywheel from June of last year. Just because I think it's important for people to see that it doesn't have to be perfect to be effective. Right? But you will get better. This is the worst you will ever be. This is the original speaker flywheel concept. That's where we started. Started from the bottom. Now we're here. Right? We started with this. You should be doing one association a month, a quarterly conference, press coverage semi-annually, podcast weekly. This is where we started. Maria eventually migrated it to here. But we didn't talk about this because I didn't really understand that it was really important. But it's always been there. We just didn't have a way to classify it. We went straight to emerging speakers. And then we added experienced and expert. And this is like the aspiring. It wasn't even called emerging at the beginning. It's called aspiring, where we said, hey, just get on podcasts and associations and work on your message. This is where Ambika would be. She's kind of trying to figure it out. She needs to be doing one-on-ones like she was doing and going on podcasts, right? But then we added other things, right? And we just kept making it larger and larger. So we brought this concept back of how do we go with aspiring, experienced, and expert. Is this making sense? That concept has just reemerged as we've gotten smarter. You're watching us build a super duper incredible company right in front of your eyes. SpeakerHub was the largest directory, but it wasn't the most effective. We were the most effective at PitchDB. We outperformed them in revenue and in results. We used that revenue and results to buy SpeakerHub, which outperformed us in getting more clients. You put us together, nobody's going to beat us. Right?
Hey,
This
Ron,
time
can
last
you?
year, we had 6 employees. Now we have 24 full-time and 18 contractors. We're up to 42 people. Why? Because we're reinvesting in doing this for you guys. Maria did this over the weekend. She started working on this at noon on Saturday. And she says, I'll have it ready for you guys to talk about Monday at the meeting. That's the level of commitment. Is this making sense? So if you right now have a concept and it ain't this ugly, and you haven't, if it's prettier than this and you haven't taken it to the market, you've waited too long. This right here is the speaker flywheel that sold $158,000 worth of software that people couldn't try. Go back and ask all the people who bought the original SpeakerHub Pro in July of last year, on June the 30th. They bought it from me showing this. This. It wasn't all pretty. It was this. I used what I had. And then Maria came along and made it better. But we started with this. Just to kind of show you that that's how that works. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yes, I was wondering if you could show there was a chart for how many pitches each category should do for the emerging speakers, and so on, all the way up to professional. Can you show that chart?
Of course, right? So we are constantly building frameworks, and I think we're probably at 80-something frameworks now. So let's go. Here you go, right? So if you're an emerging speaker and you're just starting out, using SpeakerHub Pro, you only need to send about 5 pitches a day to get results, right? As your pitch gets better, you will start getting on more podcasts and more associations. If you do this and you just follow up with them, you'll be fine, right? That should get you on 48 podcasts a year and 12 association meetings where you're talking to small groups. This puts you in the top 10% of all speakers. Now, I used to say that, and people are like, man, no, that ain't true. Listen, guys, we got the data. I can go over into the Score app. Let me show you. Why did I used to say that? Put you in the top 10% of all speakers. Here it is. Let's go to our insights. Right? How many speaking gigs? Look at this. 53% plus 23% is 76% of the industry. Okay? 76 plus 14, which is the next level, is 90. 12 is in that 11 to 20. Does that make sense? That puts you in the top 10% of speakers just by doing 1 gig a month. When you add the 48 podcast, you're out of here. You're through the roof. That's top 10% of speakers, 1 a month. If we go here, and as an experienced speaker, we just added 4 conferences. So if you do 48 podcasts, 12 association meetings, and a conference once a quarter, that puts you still in that top 10%, but a little bit further up because now you're rolling. This is why we pull that data, right? So 10 pitches a day, you should get these results, but it requires follow-up. You got to follow up with the ones that you've sent. If you've sent 50 pitches, but you haven't followed up with any of them, the work ain't done. Does that make sense? As you become a full-time speaker, you need to double those things. Why? Because most people who are speaking don't make a lot of money, right? Let's go back. Let's go to our data. 81% of the industry is making under $25,000. Why? Because they're not speaking enough. I want y'all to look, 90% of them make under 50 grand. And Bika, don't you leave your job to go make 50 grand.
I'm actually in between jobs right now. So
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, if you can get a neuroscience job, go get that. And then speak on the side. Is this making sense? Or develop a product that you can sell on top of speaking. But if the only way you can get paid is from upfront speaking fees, this is a loser's path. Nobody wants to admit it, but it is. The data says it. Right? So having a product to promote, having something to promote along the way is how you build a business around speaking. Any other questions, comments? Is this firm? Good, bad, ugly? Cool. Any other feedback? We got 11 minutes before the end of the call. Valencia, what you think? You've been here. Valencia here. She's been here 5 days. She's been here 5 out of the last 6 days. It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I did do my survey on Sunday.
Okay. Did you get some
And I
referrals?
liked it. No, I didn't get any referrals. It was really my fault. It was my first one, so but it was good. I liked it.
Cool. You know what? Dorian Stewart, we have never met you before. We didn't haze you yet. We need you to introduce yourself. Don't be over there hiding. Will you see her hiding? She was hiding. She wasn't gonna say nothing. Dorian, introduce yourself, please.
Can you hear me?
Of course.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So yes, my name is Dorian Stewart. I am the author of 12 children's books called Promise Pals, focusing on my framework of purpose, affirmation minding, and leading with purpose and kindness. And I am going to various schools and youth organizations, even faith-based events to talk about the importance of pouring in positive affirmations to children, and also kind of empowering parents and educators on how to do that by using books or using tools that I've created, or even just kind of finding ideas and being creative in kind of reaching our children.
No, that's cool. Where you calling in from?
I am living currently in Huntsville, but I'm originally from New York. I am born and raised.
Okay, cool. Welcome. You're always welcome here at Speaker Hub. Again, for those who are new, Speaker Hub, the speaker co-working is a daily call we do at noon Eastern every day for speakers around the world. I live in South America. I know other people are all over the place. I think Ann McNeil is in Portugal today. But people all around the world that want to get on more stages, this is where we share our feedback. So you're always welcome, whether you're a Speaker Up client or not. But I can tell you, if you come back twice, it's a high chance you're going to end up being a Speaker Up customer, right? We got the data. We watch it, okay? All right, so if you come back tomorrow, we got you. I'm just letting you know. Same thing for you, MB. We're going to be watching. If she come back, they trying to join the club, you know? Sharon, what's up?
Hey, how you doing, everybody? I wanted to come on and say that the system works when you work it. And so I did pitch a total of 100, actually it was over 100 for the month of March. So yeah, for me.
That's a
And
big deal.
so far I know, so far I've booked 4 podcasts. And when I checked my email last evening, there's I got a couple of response, so I need to follow up on that. And I'm just in the process of following up on, of the podcast that I had pitched. And so, yeah, develop your system and just do it.
100%. High five. Let me tell y'all why this is so important to me. Because Sharon Brown, the self-carepreneur, was over self-caring for herself for a little bit. She was watching. She was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this. And then she said, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. And she says that she sent the 100 in March, but it was really like in the last 2 weeks. She said the first week of March, she sent about 6. And then she just eased on down the road, and super duper incredible. Way to go. Way to go. Way to get off the starting blocks and get going. Now, a lot of people ask, if we're speakers, why are we going on podcasts? Why is that important? Because as an entrepreneur who happens to speak, we really have to look at every opportunity to be on a stage or in front of an audience as a referral from the host. So if the podcast said, hey, I want to introduce you to 100 people that love what you talk about, yeah, I'm showing up. It don't have to be 18,000. It could just be 100. I'm showing up because he's giving me a referral. When I go do a small group speaking gig at an association and it's only 20 financial advisors there, I'm excited because the host is giving me a referral to 20 people that can use my service. When I go and speak at a larger place, I'm super duper excited because the host is got pyrotechnics and flashing lights for me to show up and talk to thousands or hundreds of people as a referral. I trust Ron, so you should trust him too. I trust Gustavo, so you should trust him too. I trust Dr. Meg, so you should trust him too. Why do we do podcasts? Because there's 3.5 million of those. There's only 45,000 conferences that we found. There's only 209,000 associations that we found. But those 3.5 million podcasts, they open up their stage every week. They have a new episode coming out. John Lee Dumas does an episode a day. He was doing 300 episodes a year, right? So with that being the case, podcasting is the easiest stage to get on and the most forgiving. It's the easiest way to figure it out. So Jadika, go ahead.
Ron, to support what you just said, on Friday, I was a guest on a podcast called Holistic Life But before I became the guest on her podcast, I had to submit an article for her publication. And I submitted the article. She loved it. And in June, my article is going to be featured in her publication. But that came as a result of me connecting with her to get on the podcast. And from there, an article comes from me being on the podcast. So podcasts can do a lot of different things for you if you just follow the script, which is pitch. As simple as that.
No, that's a high five. Jadika has made some of the most amazing progress because she's so unassuming, right? But underneath, she's like the duck in the pond, where on the top you just see her being cool, but underneath her feet is freaking flapping away. And she's on podcast all the time. She's always converting a podcast into a speaking gig. I think in December or November, she found out that the podcaster was in Baltimore or in the DC area where she lives, and it turned into a speaking opportunity, right? So here's the thing, guys, ain't nobody gonna hand us nothing. We got to go get it, right? But if you put yourself in front of enough of the right people, things just kind of like, man, you get lucky. No, hard work usually, luck usually comes disguised as hard work. The harder you work, the luckier you get. That's a quote from Lee Trevino, who's a great golfer. But I really believe that like, dude, I'm just in front of more people, right? I did 287 sales calls in March so far. 287. Like, that's the real number, right? 287 sales calls in March, membership calls, interviews for SpeakerHub, right? Now, why do I bring that up? Because somebody on here going to tell me that 10 surveys is a lot. I'm going to do 10 today. I'm not any better. I'm just saying that we have to be careful who we compare ourselves to. Because the results we want, we have to find the people that have those results, find the methods that they used, and copy them. So if Ambika wants to become a speaker, easiest way to become a speaker is to find people who are booking speakers and reach out to them. Whether you use SpeakerHub or some other platform, doesn't matter. That's the method. Once you know the method that proactive pitching outperforms waiting around, then you find tools that make that easier. Does that make sense? So if I understand that having a home garden produces healthier food than the stuff that's filled with pesticides at the store, once I understand that that's the easiest way to get organic food, then I go buy a shovel, a pick, and all the other things I need to build that garden. Does that make sense? SpeakerHub is just one of those shovels or tools that make it work. But the process works, which is I got to reach out to people that can book me. With or without SpeakerHub. We don't care what you use. We want you to use us, but you don't have to. Reach out to people. Does that make sense? Because that's all that Jadika does, that Bart does, that Bonnie does, that Sharon has been doing, that Jasmine is talking about. They're just reaching out. And the more people you look, you ask enough people on a date, eventually you're going to get married, bro. It's just how life works. Eventually you're going to get married. It's going to happen. Any other questions? We're right at 12 o'clock, which is when we go into overtime. I got time today. I got another hour open if you all have other questions or you want to review something that you may have missed. We're not going to go over that survey again. We done that survey 4 times. We did it every day last week. So just go back and watch the replays. If you haven't created your form or your survey of your own, use Google Forms, right? The replays are already up, but use Google Forms to create your own version of the survey so that you can start generating those leads. Now, any other questions? All right, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to share something with you that I think is pretty cool. All right, so let's go back to one of my surveys. I think I have it up here. All right, so if I go back to one of the old surveys that we did, and we asked people, about different things. Let me pull up one. Let's just go all the way back to the beginning of time. All right. So what you end up with is problems that people want you to solve. So if you remember, I asked a lot of different questions. So with your survey, you can pull up these reports. We asked, how many people have a podcast? Right? Would you like help creating one? Half of them said, yeah. Right? What type of media have you been in? This is what influenced what we should be adding next. We didn't have media outlets at first in the original PitchDB or SpeakerHub. All we had was speaking gigs and podcasts. We didn't have media. We added media because people started talking about media. Right? Look at this. It was like, wait a minute, I've been in podcasts, I've been on YouTube, right? And then they were like magazines and news. I'm like, well, let me go get the magazines and the newspapers. You see how that data informed the decision on the product? How many of y'all are still working on a product? I'll take a half hour and help you to develop a product, right? And Mika, you want to be my guinea pig for today?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Because I think this would be incredible, especially since you're in between trying to figure out what you want to do. If you can figure out a way to help people, this would be incredible. So, what's a problem when you gave your speech? Tell us the thesis of that speech. What was that speech about?
Sure. So at the conference, I talked about emotional intelligence in the workplace and how it connects to stress responding and stress management. So it was an interactive talk where I brought in things that I've learned from school, from work, and even showed some theoretical models. But then really the part where people got really energized was when I asked them how they manage their stress. And then they were just really like loving the conversation and supporting each other. So it was overall a great time. And other times I've talked about like mental health topics, but since I'm not a licensed clinician or anything like that, I don't go like too far into that kind of stuff, but definitely the mental health and how that connects to physical health and the real world applications of it.
Okay. And so one of the things that I heard that was a huge opportunity was stress in the workplace, right? Now, a lot of companies years ago, they used to have pension plans. And then those pension plans turned into 401k plans. And then those 401k plans in the last 10 years, they still have them, but they start bringing in financial wellness companies, right? Meaning that they weren't even telling you where to invest your stuff, but you had somebody you could call to talk about how to get out of debt. It was like a private company that your company had hired that you could go and get these wellness checkups because most financial advisors can't afford to give that advice for free. So it became an employee benefit that the companies were providing. Does that make sense? So I think in a lot of ways, a lot of companies think about how do we bring people in, not just licensed people, but just basic on the surface. I may not be Netflix that can pay someone $25,000, but if you could just show me like Jadika does this thing right here and my elbows start itching, if she can show me the little magic thing that she do to remove pain and to make your back feel better, that's something. Companies have yoga. They got what's the other thing? Pilates. I remember I'll tell you a place you can go and get all types of clients, co-working places. Go talk to the receptionist at a co-working center and ask if you could do a lunch and learn or something on reducing stress as an entrepreneur. They would all let you do it. And it will be free. They'll give you the conference room and everything because they're looking for programming. All of y'all can do this. Whatever you talk about, look up co-working center WeWork or whatever in your city, and I promise you they will bring you in for a program. Siri answering, I ain't even talking to you. Daggone phone talking to me. I said in your city, and Siri was like, what you want? Like, shut up. This thing's spying. This old nosy phone. I'm gonna turn my phone off. But does that make sense? So now here's the cool thing. You go and you talk about stress in the workplace. Entrepreneurs are in the workplace, right? And you have a framework already or no?
I don't think so. I have like an outline for the talk that I gave, but maybe framework means
Okay,
something
cool.
different here.
Let me show you. Here you go. So you come into this thing called ChatGPT. And what is it that you do? I help who?
I think it's pretty broad right now. Like the conference I spoke at was for like women at my alma mater, University of Maryland. But I could also, like, I come from an education background, so these lectures were given to college students, so can definitely be framed for whoever the audience is. So even my YouTube videos, they're geared towards everyone. So I'll try to use examples from the workplace or school just to be more applicable to a variety of people.
Okay. So I'm sharing my screen here. So here's a very simple framework that you can use. Anybody can do this. This is how you develop a product, right? Now, if you're doing the surveys, they already told you what they want you to solve. So then you come and you use this around that, right? So it's giving you several. They gave you the stop, right? There was one call. What the heck? There's the stop. Wait a minute. You had some other ones. Show me 5 similar. It was like stop, rest, care, and then they deleted it. Well, let's look at it. All right. So you can use free chat GPT to generate this. Right. So now you got a framework to go off of. Right. Now that same talk that you gave, do you think that if you had a framework where you had to teach each one of these, you can make that a 1-hour workshop? Yes or no? Tamika?
I think so. I think I would have to maybe learn some of these specific frameworks a little bit better because the material that I have talked on, I'm a little more, I guess, familiar with it. So
I got you. I got you.
yeah.
Watch this. See. Now I'm going to show you something. Ambika Matthew, is that the name of your page?
It's actually the third one down. So it's called Health Psych with Miss M.
Okay, cool. Now I'm going to show you something really cool. And all right, so let's pick. Is this what you?
Yeah, that first one that you just hovered over with the blue, that was a part of my talk.
Okay, perfect. Right here, this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Watch this. I'm going to show you all something new. Now, ChatGPT is dope, but it ain't better than this. This is free. It's called Notebook LM. All right. You come to Notebook LM, you can create your own notebook and you can just put the YouTube video in just like this. Boom. And now it's going to go ahead and let me ask questions about this, right? I want to create a framework that I can use to teach the principles in this video. Now, the great thing about Notebook LM, the GPT and Chat GPT was actually created by Google, right? And then Chat GPT took the model and made it into this bigger thing. But Google had been using Notebook LM for a long time, right? So here are some of the principles that you can use to create a teaching framework, right? So now I'm going to take this here and I'm going to go back to Chat GPT and say, okay, create a framework using these principles. So now I can put, since she said, well, that's cool, but that really ain't me. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to use your stuff. Right? So now it's looking through, it's using your stuff of what you had already talked about. Right? Now, what would I do? These words are pretty large. So the average person doesn't understand it. So recreate at a sixth grade reading level. Now, everybody should be doing this with your products. This is super duper duper important. Feel free to change the letters to make it simpler. It doesn't have to be in a PR. Right? Because it's like, dude, let's like, they came up with this idea that's really bad. Tell them it's bad. But it can keep the concept in there. So now she has something that's hers. And then you develop, here we go, calm, break, star, blue, neat, perfect.
And so these are frameworks that don't already exist, but they're created off of the content you put in.
Exactly.
Wow.
Right? Now watch this. Here it is. I'm a new business owner. I want to use speaking on this topic to build a business. I am not a licensed therapist, right?
That's correct. And I just added that so I'm like staying in my lane and not.
Yeah, no. Look, you did the right thing. This is what we teach. We don't play fake people on the internet. All right? You did the right thing. High five. I should give you a hug for saying that because that's like that's what we truly believe.
I'm also not a PhD for whatever that's worth, but I still like to throw in the word expert.
But that doesn't mean you can't help. Right. So I put in, I'm a new business owner. I want to use speaking on this topic to build a business. I'm not a licensed therapist. Give me some products and services I can provide. How cool is that? Right? Which one do you want to create right now?
I guess whatever's the.
Okay, watch this.
For time's sake and what.
Give me the create an outline that I can use for my digital products that you suggested above. Now, this isn't the sexy work, guys, but it's the work that needs to be done, right? It's not all rah rah, but if you can do this, if you can be patient with this. So now, here it is. Do you think you can make YouTube videos about these? Yes. That's how you create a product. Right? Does this make sense? Is this helpful? Is there anybody on here who can't do this? Right? It's that easy. I'll share the link with you so you can, I'll copy that so you can keep using it. Right? But that's just basic prompting. This is from the free chat GPT. You ain't even got to have a fancy paid one. So I'm going to send you the entire thing so that you can see how I thought through writing the prompts and everything. That way, when you go to do it on your own, you're not left in the dark saying, man, what did he say in this part? I'm just going to give you all of it. Does that make sense?
Yes, that is so cool. And to even see it in a different format, because that model that I presented is from like theoretical kind of textbook knowledge. So to see it in a different form is very interesting because my videos do get into what you saw later with like, how do you cope? How do you handle? So I do sort of follow a curriculum with my videos to some extent.
All right. So here in the chat, I just put the link for anyone who wants to follow. Just do videos on YouTube and put them in a course. Yeah, so here's the difference. There's a guy that, and you can hide videos on YouTube so that they don't show up, right? So that only people with the link shows up, right? This guy, Miles Stutz, right? I bought something from him recently, right? And he has a thing called 4-hour clients. And I don't know if I remember where the thing is, but let me go on to YouTube and I'll show you. I'll show you how he has videos that are hidden that you can't see, but we can see. Let's see, 4-hour, right? Yeah, it's not coming up. But basically, what ends up happening is that yeah, it's not coming up here. Stutz is his last name, but it still isn't showing me. His videos are there, but they're hidden so that nobody else can see them. And he sends those in a Notion file. And I paid him, I think, $47 for this Notion file that had those videos on it, but you can't find them anyplace else, right? So that's what you can do. Any other questions? Was this helpful? Anything else? I feel good about using ChatGPT for content I created elsewhere, not just pulling anything off of it. My own content isn't cheating. Oh yeah. I mean, let me tell y'all something. Here's the cool thing. Remember, ChatGPT can't talk about my daughter outside screaming over her lunch. That's the part. You got to put your own sauce on it, guys. It's done 90% of the work. Add your own flavor and sauce to it. Use it to organize. You see what we did? We took a video that she had already taught on and just organized it into something. Those are her original thoughts, right? When I come into ChatGPT and I use it for what I use it for, which is doing a lot of research on how do we help our clients. I mean, I'm in here all the time, always looking for new ways to be able to help you guys, right? And I'll spend 2 hours just prompting and adjusting things to make, and then grading it. Does that make sense? Any other questions?
I put a question in the chat.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and ask. You're already unmuted. I don't be looking at the chat. That'd be Angie's thing. I don't be looking in the chat.
So, like, do you think we should, like, I know you talked about one-on-ones and then podcasts and things like that. And now, about the courses and things. So do you think we should just focus on one, or can we kind of do both and let them complement each other?
Well, I'll tell you something. When you say do one of what one style of teaching or one product?
No, I mean like one on just like focusing in on one on like I'm a coach, okay? So I know that one-on-ones are important, and you talked about one-on-ones just now and going on podcasts, right?
Yep.
But also I personally would like to have courses like what you just did here. And I feel like, those are just things that we can kind of add.
Yeah.
So if someone's
So
not
we
wanting to
call
go
it,
one-on-one and pay that big price, they can do courses.
yeah, we're on the same page. We call those modalities. And anyone, for those who've been here for a while, you always hear me talk about different modalities of the same product. Let's go back and look at the prompt. The prompt tells the story, right? So, Valencia, what did I say here in the prompt? Can you see that?
You said create an outline that can use my digital products. I can't see it all.
Yep.
That you suggest above.
Yeah, that I could use for the digital products suggested above. What products did they suggest above? Ebooks, coaching, all of these different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, a YouTube video, a TED Talk is a 17-minute version of this outline. A 150-page book is a 150-page written version of this outline. A weekend seminar is a 3-day version of this outline.
Right.
A webinar for an hour that I may use to sell the seminar is a 3-day version of the outline. Let me give you an example, right? So when we come over here, every day I talk about this thing, the speaker flywheel, right? And we go into detail about it. And I tell the story about how I own these companies and the research I did there working with clients helped me to develop this. And here are the 4 growth hacks. And these come up all the time. I just talk about them in different ways. I get into them in different ways because I know them so well, I can get in and get out of it. Learn to give profitable free speeches is what we focused on in March. We just didn't call it that, but it's the same point on my 4 growth hacks that I've always taught. Using podcasts to get on bigger stages. Yeah, we just extended it back and said one-on-ones lead to podcasts, lead to, you see how it's the same stuff. I'm just revisiting it in a different way. So your core IP is still your core IP. Does that make sense, Valencia?
Yeah, it does.
Right? So when we think about proactively pitching, we talked about that at the beginning. If you want to get booked, you got to pitch. Whether you use SpeakerHub or not, it don't matter. That's a core principle that we stand on. Now, that guy, Stephen Covey, everything that you see starts with those 4, those 7 habits made these 24 courses off of one set of principles. It's just how deep can you go? Right? The speaker launch formula. Right? This is just me going deeper on those 4 principles. Right? That's all that is. It's just me going deeper, further into those 4 principles. It's not just me talking about it here or in a webinar. It also manifests itself where? In our software. The software is an expression of what we believe. You want to see how they did it? Guess what they offer also? Resources. They got workshops, blogs, podcasts, mission building. That's software. This is software that they will let you use to build out your mission. We do the same things. We just call it frameworks. Right? So the same thing I just did in ChatGPT, I can do it right here. We already built the prompts to do it. That's why I can do it so easily. We just integrated it into the software. I know Ambika don't have access to our software right now, but that shouldn't hold her back from being able to do these things. Right?
Okay.
Does this make sense, Valencia?
It does. I mean,
right? So
Yeah, I just had a coach tell me, no, just focus on the one thing. And it just kind of, it just didn't make
Again,
sense. But this makes sense to me.
so I'm not gonna go against your coach because I don't know who they are, right? But a one-on-one conversation is a more intimate version. When I talked to Jadika last week, we had a more intimate conversation than what we have here. Does that make sense? But we talked about the same stuff. I just was able to go further into something that she had a question about. When I talked to Cardis, the same stuff. Leroy called me one day. I think it was like 3 in the morning where he was, right? Because he lives in England. And we just went deeper into his 4C's framework. I think it's either 3C's or 4C's. Can't remember. But we went deeper into that. He was like, oh, I get it now. Right? It's the same thing. You're just manifesting it. That's a one-on-one conversation. When I go on a podcast talking about the same thing, it's just one-on-one, but shared with many. Do you see what I mean? When I go do a small group, whether it's virtual or live, it's one to small group. When I do a conference, it's one to many. Why? Because I got to get better. I can't go to a conference with 400 people. I get up there talking stuff, and then they open it up for Q&A, and somebody makes me look like an idiot. I done already practiced all these questions in front of people hundreds of times. That's why my responses here can be so quick and succinct. I've done 130 consecutive days on live with you guys. It's going to be hard to stop me. It's going to be really hard when I'm up to 600. It's going to be really hard when I'm up to 2,000 days. Does this make sense? So I'm not telling you not to follow what your coach said, but what I'm telling you is you have to look at your product as intellectual property, not as a speech. It is IP that you can make into a book, make into a course, make into this, make into that, however you want to express it. You can make it into trivia cards. I'm serious. You can make it into flashcards and teach people whatever you want to teach them via flashcards. You can make it a flashcard app. There's so many different ways. Fair, Valencia? Now, let me go back to that one last time. I do believe that entrepreneurs get distracted. Well, we'll say, I'll launch when I get all 19 of my products. That's probably what your coach is trying to prevent you from doing. I'm gonna get the book first, but I'm gonna launch the book, but when I get my course. But then when the course, I gotta get my social media, and you ain't never launching nothing. Your products become your excuses. Does that make sense? So here's my opinion on products. Find something expensive to sell. Y'all don't understand what I'm saying, do you? Okay, let me give you the reason why. Who can you help the most? The person that pays you the least or the person that pays you the most? Jadika, you're muted. We couldn't hear you. We saw your lips. The person. She was into it. I don't know what she said, but it was exciting. You're still muted. You're still muted.
The person that pays you the most.
The person that pays you the most gives you the most ability to help them. Why? Because now you can afford to spend as much time as they've paid for. If it's profitable, you can afford to use that for marketing to get other customers, right? To invest in a team, right? Does that make sense? So when we first launched, and I'll use SpeakerHub, when we first launched SpeakerHub Pro, SpeakerHub's original product was $19 a month. And it was super duper ineffective. When we came out, we said our first product is going to be $2,000, $4,000, and $6,000. And in 3 months, we're going to raise the price on all of them. And we've raised the price every 3 months since. Why? Because we used the first money to hire the team we needed to actually help you guys. You see what I mean? I couldn't have Gustavo and Maria and Ange and the other people. It was only 6 of us. I couldn't build our team the way we needed to fulfill on the promise that I made if I didn't charge enough. I don't have any outside investors. I pay for this myself. So I gotta be customer funded. But I gave them the deal of a lifetime. I said, hey, if this is what this is going to cost on a yearly basis, if you pay me almost a year, if you pay me 75% of what you would pay me in a year up front, I'll give it to you for life. And Janika said, yep, give it to me, right? Kevin, years ago, said, yep, I want that deal. Give it to me. And McNeil said, yep, I want that. Bonnie, yep, he making this lifetime deal where I know I'm going to be a speaker. I'm going to be doing this for the next year anyway. If I can pay 9 months up front and he's going to give me access to this to make money with it forever, yes. So win-win. Why? Because we got the capital to get the team we wanted. Look at the innovations that you've seen just since July of last year, guys. This ain't the same product. It ain't the same product since December when Bonnie joined us. We've added so many frameworks didn't exist. A lot of the other stuff, the AI, all of these things, they didn't exist at the beginning. Is this making sense? That your product won't be right at the beginning, but charge enough on a one-to-one basis. We didn't offer that to all 65,000 people. We offered it to 100. And we took that capital and we invested in the business. So you can't build a business off a $17 book. Even the big authors don't do that. The company who gave them their book deal sent them $200,000 so they could take a year off and write that book. And then they got to use some of that $200,000 to travel around to do book signings to promote the book. Does that make sense? But we as independent entrepreneurs, we launch a $17 book, and then we get afraid and we lower it down to $9, and then it ends up being 99 cents so that we can do a little fake Amazon bestseller thing. Right? And then we realized nobody ever bought the books after that little goofy campaign. No, I'm talking about it because I know the ins and outs. You ain't gonna fool me. I know you sold 13 books. And then if everybody's an Amazon bestseller, nobody's an Amazon bestseller. Let me just say that. If every guy is tall, dark, and handsome, nobody's tall, dark, and handsome. They're all the same. I'm just being real. But now every book is a bestseller. To who? Your cousins? Get up out of here. Nobody care about that. Right? But here's the point I'm making. If you can sell something that is a bit more expensive, now you have the capital to do the research and to get other customers. What would you rather have?
Yeah.
Huh?
I think that's exactly what he was saying. And thank you for breaking it down even more.
Who's your coach? What's his first name?
His Matthew. His name is Matthew Lopez. I don't know if you know
No, I
him.
don't know him. No, I didn't know because I work with a lot of different coaches that send their clients to us. I didn't know if it was Israel or someone else because the coaches that I work directly with, I know their philosophies, so I can tell you what they were intending. But you got to have something expensive so that you can survive. See, I would rather have 4 like kick butt customers, whether they're companies that bring me in on a regular basis or individual clients that pay me anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a month. Because I only got to work on 4 people. And those 4 people, since they're paying me so much, I got to get results for them. And they're going to give me direct feedback on how I'm really helping them. Does that make sense?
Right.
So then now I'm tuned in and I know what I'm solving.
Yeah, I think that, and that's the reason why I'm attracted to this and the podcasting and all, because I'm like, okay, if I've got to do one-on-one clients, how do I get them? And so I like the surveys. Why the survey, the pitching, everything that you're saying is going in line with what I want to do, which is attract those one-on-one customers because that's more bang for your buck. So, okay, what's the roadway to get to that? And so
the roadway is the surveys.
Mhm.
I've built several businesses on the surveys. I've repeated it. I can show you an entire business. Let me show you. Here it is. Watch this. Watch this. See, Northwestern Mutual. You ever heard of this company before?
Yeah.
Right? Watch this. Northwestern Mutual revenue. What was their revenue in 2024? 38 billion. You see that? I'm going to show you something. Watch this. Let me go back into time. A lot of people know I used to work there. Am I working at Northwestern Mutual? Hold on. All right. I think I can share this here. Uh-oh, somebody need a mute. I don't know who just turned on a thing. But so here's one of the things I learned a long time ago at Northwestern Mutual. So I had all of these different things that we used. And then there was something called market, see, survey. All right. So,
we're still saying Google.
okay, 1 second. I know, but you're not seeing Dropbox?
No, we're not.
Okay. Okay, let me see if I can you see Dropbox now?
Yes.
Okay. So, this is from, Dunbar Advisors. I ain't had this company in years, right? But this is what we did. This is from when I was with Northwestern Mutual, and we had to do this on paper. We didn't have no spreadsheet. I had to print this out. And I had to write all of my answers and my people in here. I had to do 200 of these before I could even get the job. They wouldn't even hire me until I had done 200 of them surveys. And I had to write in all of the stuff. Is this making sense? Let me see. I don't know if it's going to open over here. Right? Let's see. I don't know when I'm opening up. Yeah. Right? So this is what we had to do. Memory jogger. Who do I play football with? Who do I know that's the secretary? All of this stuff. Who's my brother-in-law, my father-in-law? Who could I ask these questions to that I think may need life insurance or financial advice? So when I talk about these things, it's not just some stuff that I made up. It's stuff that I've used for years because it built, let me see. Look at this, 2009. Now, I was with Northwestern Mutual in 2004. So this go way back. But we're using the same stuff because it built, that survey generated $38 billion last year. It's the survey that's required for every Northwestern Mutual agent in order to get the job. They haven't stopped using it. All I did was copy it. And I turned it into a Microsoft doc. Usually they have the date at the end of this. Let me see if the date will come up. But is this helpful, guys, to kind of show you the context? This is where this came from. Let me open it. When I told you all to modify the words, yeah, that's what I had to do. So I don't be feeling bad when y'all like, I got to recreate it. Yes. The purpose of this survey is to help the candidate understand the needs and perceptions of the general public around financial services, right? So I went in. This is not for solicitation purposes. This is why we say don't sell. Had to fill these out, the same questions. It wasn't in as easy form. I had to write the notes and compile them individually. And if I didn't come with 200 of those in a stack and they went through them individually, I didn't get the job. Right? That survey generated $38 billion last year. So I don't be feeling bad. Let me give you the real story. I started a business when I was at U of I, ended up going over to Illinois State University. I'm 20 years old. One of my professors says, does anybody here ever think about being a financial advisor? There's a company that has the top 5 internship in the world, ranks right up there with the Supreme Court and all these other consulting companies. It's called Northwestern Mutual. If you ever want to be a financial advisor, this is a great internship. I applied for the internship in December. April comes around. I do my first interview in February. April comes around. I break my leg at the knee. So I'm in a crotch to ankle brace in a wheelchair from April the 6th of 2000 all the way through May. I do the last half of the semester in school from my house. My friend, one of my frat brothers, he wasn't my frat brother at the time, but he's like my brother now. He brought me all of my books every day with the homework. He would go to his class, go to my class, get my homework, bring it to me for me to do. I hopped in the car in my wheelchair with my crotch to ankle brace, with my ankle, this long brace on top of my suit pants. Went into Northwestern Mutual and they said, dude, we interviewed you, we wanted you, but you haven't been able to come to any other trainings. And the first class is on Monday. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, this on a Friday. He's like, the class is on Monday. We start training with the interns on Monday. And I'm like, okay, so what do I need to do? He said, you ain't done none of the pre-work. I said, cool. What is it? He says, you need 200 of these by Monday. Everybody else has 200. I can't let you in without bringing your stack. I did 200 of them in a weekend. So I don't be feeling bad. I'm not saying I'm the hardest worker. I'm just saying, dude, come on. It's just hard for me to hear it when it's like, well, this came. I'm like, dude, but I was in a wheelchair with one leg. We had nights and weekend minutes. That's the only reason I was able to do it, because I could use my weekend minutes. Some of y'all remember nights and week, you couldn't call nobody till after 7 o'clock. I had nights and weekend minutes. I went through and I called all 13 of my family members that would take my call over the weekend. And then I went into a phone book and I wrote down 187 other people filled out that form, filled out that form for 187 other ones. Why? Because I didn't have 200 people to talk to. Does this make sense? But I did the 13. Those 13 out of the 1,500 financial advisors at that time, I was number 55 my first year. Built off of that survey. That's all I'm saying. It's like, I know it works. I've lived it. Is this helpful? So it's not my idea. They do 38 billion. Oh, Jasmine, you leaving or you got a question? Okay. All right. See you later. Right. But that survey has built a $38 billion business. Right. I just didn't want to talk about it, but now I'm like, well, let me just show them, because I don't think they believe. Right. That's what it is. Northwestern Mutual Market Information Survey. Let's see if somebody else has it up online. Oh, there it is. Intern market opportunity assessment introduction. Yeah. They just made it fancy now. This is the same thing. This is the same thing. They just made it fancy. Oh, these knuckleheads. Cool. Right? But that's what they're doing. You see that? They're telling you to get referrals and get referrals to the next person. Right? Oh, market opportunity assessment. They just changed the name. We have to do 200 of these. It's still a part of the business 50 years later. Any questions about it? Do you see why I believe in it so much? I've built every business I've had on top of this.
There's a question, Ron, not specifically about the survey, but about Christy wanted to know how she can sign up.
Yep. Christy, I'm going to send you a link. And here's the cool thing about what we do. Let me put the link in the chat. Christy, are you in the UK? Where are you?
She's in the UK.
Yes, I'm in the UK, and I just asked Angela how I can go on a sort of plan,
Yep. Yeah, because I
monthly
have to
plan.
send you the one that we had to make for people outside the US. So I'll send that to you privately. Because if you're in the US, the companies will finance it on a lifetime plan. But if you're outside of the US, we have to do it privately. So I have a special link I'll send to you for that. Cool. All right. But is this, do you understand? Was the product thing helpful, Ambika?
I asked a question in the chat about
Okay, go ahead.
paid opportunities because the talk that I just gave, one of the ripple effects might be giving similar talks for other alumni chapters or like in a high school. So those might be unpaid unless there's like a less awkward way to ask if there could be compensation as I'm trying to build something. So I was wondering your thoughts on.
Yeah, the best way to get paid is to ask. If they say that they don't pay, then you know that they don't pay. But here, let me share something with you really quickly. I don't know why it's not letting me share what I want to share. I think I got to close my whole browser. The easiest way to get paid for a speaking gig is to ask. But if they don't pay up front, this is why it's so important for you to have other products and services, because someone in the crowd will pay you. If you don't have any products, how can you go and give a free talk and make money from it? So if you think of the best speakers in the world, a lot of them are speaking for free, but they know that the people in the audience are going to become their customers.
In
Does
that
that make
sense,
sense?
part of the plan that you were saying in response to Valencia's question of like, especially for me, if I'm just starting out, maybe it's about doing it for free because I enjoy doing it and then seeing kind of what becomes of that.
No. You go to your local co-working and you ask them if you can do a seminar on stress management, right? And you use ChatGPT for that outline that I sent to you. And you put together a series of videos answering all of those questions. And then those who enjoyed your talk at the stress management seminar that you did at the co-working, you say, hey, if you want my longer course on stress management, it's $97 right here. That's how you get paid. I don't know any other way. That's how you get paid. Now, here's the thing. That's called betting on yourself, right? And the reason why I call it that is because if you're waiting on someone else to pay you and you think you will make more from someone paying you up front than selling your own product and service on the same talk that you're doing the talk on the same topic that you're doing the talk on, that's a self-belief problem. And it would really make me question if you should even be doing the talk. Because you're like, well, I don't think anybody would buy this. Well, then why are you talking about it? Well, why would the event planner buy it then? Do you see what I mean? If the individuals wouldn't buy it, why would the event planner buy it? Does that make sense? Now, some people may disagree with me, but I don't care. That's how I feel. Why? Because I believe in you a little bit more than what you may believe in yourself at the beginning. And that's part of my job. I have to see the potential in what you're doing. Does that make sense? So watch this. Let me show you. Here's how you do it.
Just a quick question on that. For each of those products that you showed us in the chat GPT, I guess we would have to find like someone to support making a course rather than just sitting here and doing it ourselves. It seems like.
Nope. Don't you do that. You see her put up the roadblock and complicate it. Oh no, I gotta get someone to teach me how to do a course. No, you don't. You've been doing YouTube videos, just make the YouTube videos. Look at this. Stress Building and Resilience Masterclass. How many reviews does it have? Let's go over to the most reviewed. 78,000 reviews, 187,000 students. Don't tell me ain't no market.
Is the
This
author of that like a famous person, or has it just been around longer?
No, no. I mean, hold on. Wait, watch this. Wait, let me see. See, I like you, Ambika, but you're gonna learn hanging out with me that I'm not gonna let you get in your own way. Let's go to calculator. Right? So this course right here, let me switch it to the US so we can have the right dollar amount. Why is this thing still in oh, here it is. I want it in Ange, can you I think this costs $10 because it keeps showing me stuff in pesos, and I don't want it in Colombian pesos. I want to see it in US dollars. Here, let me. All right, let's just say that's $10. Is that fair? Right? 187,000 people bought a $10 course. That's $1.8 million just from this course.
$12.
Huh?
$12.
Okay, 12. Perfect. Thanks, Gustavo. Right? So 187,432 times 12. That course has done $2.2 million. All right. Let's pick another one. Newest, the latest one that just came out.
I honestly don't even know how to do this, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't know how to make a course and put it
I'm
on.
gonna show you. I'm gonna show you. It's really easy. I got you. Right. Let's look at this one. This one's only 2 hours. It's had 28 students at the same $12. Right. 28 times 12. 300 bucks so far. They can raise the price on that. This platform just limits what they can charge. Does that make sense? Here's how you do it. Let me give you the link. Watch this. Let me show you. Watch this. You ready? Okay. Go all the way down to the outline. Did you get the link to this? I shared this with you, right? Okay, watch this. Can you introduce yourself and your mission and explain what they're going to learn?
Yes, yeah.
All right, let's go. Right now.
Oh, right now.
Yeah.
I feel like probably need a little rehearsal for that, if that's okay.
No, let's go.
What is it?
Introduce yourself and tell what they're going to learn from the course.
So I'm Tamika Mather, and from this course that you're going to learn how to appraise your stress and how to also manage it. I can go on and on, but that's like in a nutshell.
Okay, perfect. Right now, it's good. 7 out of 10. Fair? Right? So did your house catch on fire? Did anybody throw anything at you? Did a car run into you? No, nothing happened, right? So watch this. I'll show you what you can do. We're going to go back to old chat GPT. Now, mine is, my course isn't about what you talked about, right? But watch this. Do you remember my course on the speaker launch formula? My course outline is what I'm trying to say. So if you pay for ChatGPT, it has memory where it can go back and remember stuff. All right, cool. So it doesn't remember. I'm creating a course to help business owners to get clients by getting booked on podcasts, public speaking gigs, and press coverage. create an outline that I can use to make digital products. Now, this isn't the actual thing, but it's the same thing you would have had to type in. So I'm starting from scratch also. Make sense? Right? So it's going to give me the same outline that it gave you, but just more on my topic. Is that fair? So let's let this finish. And this can be done with the free chat GPT. Right? All right. So write the script for this part. Now, I'm just going to copy the part that they told me. What was the first part? Lesson 1, course overview. I mean, this is all you got to do. Now, the advantage I have is that it already knows me and what I'm doing with SpeakerHub, right? Now, it's going into detail about the entire thing. All right, so now what can I do? Here it is. You ready? Hey guys, welcome to the Speaker Launch Formula. I'm Ron Story, and I'm genuinely excited that you're here. You've taken a big step toward growing your business in one of the most powerful and surprisingly unused ways possible by getting booked on podcasts, public speaking gigs, and in the press. In this course, I'm going to show you how to take your voice, your message, your story, and your expertise and use it as the #1 marketing tool to attract more clients, build authority, and create consistent growth in your business. Dude, you can't do this. Huh? You can do this, right? There you go.
That makes sense in terms of the video recording. When you were showing us the master class, I thought that was like something that like instructional designers make using Adobe.
No, people were trying to reduce stress. You about to stress them out. You about to give people stress with this, with what you like, oh, I gotta look, you gotta make it as easy as possible for people to win. Does that make sense? You don't want to stress them out. Make it as easy. I gotta get in and get out. Instagram works because it's easy. YouTube works because my 2-year-old, my 3-year-old daughter can use it. It's easy. Does that make sense? People don't want to feel like they're doing homework. Let me give you a great example. Let's think of this. We've been on for 2 hours, right? I got to hop off because Gina's in the waiting room, which is my 1 o'clock, right? But this doesn't feel like a lecture in class. It's interactive. It's people sharing their feelings. Every once in a while, I say an off the wall joke that most people probably wouldn't say. But I got to be me, because when you hang out with me, you're gonna find out this is me in real life. People want to deal with real people. They don't want to feel like they're being diagnosed. So let your personality come out. Use the outline as the base, but put your own spin on it. Is this fair? So if you don't have a product, we just did 2 things. We talked about the importance of the one-to-ones and why you need to move up to get the data that you need. But then the last hour, we talked about the product, how you can build a product in the business. That's what it's about, guys. That's what it's about. Right? Any other questions? Lawrence, I'll text you the survey. I saw you asked about it in the chat. I'll get it to you. But you can build a product. Let me give you the one last thing. You can let Gina in. That's fine. Here's the one thing I'll say. How many of y'all ever heard of Kleenex? Right? You heard of Windex. You've heard of Xerox, right? Those are companies that we call first to market. Gina, nice to meet you. Give me 2 minutes to finish up our meeting. You can stay here though, right? Those are what we call first companies that were first to market. The iPod, right? Things of that sort. We don't need to be first to market, guys. We need to be first to customer. I need to be the first person that person has come in contact with a solution that they feel like is right for them. Even when you go to the store and you buy a box of facial tissues, when you take it home, we still call it a Kleenex. You make a photocopy, my mama still say, Xerox this for me. Xerox ain't made a copy of Konica and Minolta and all these other people make more copiers than Xerox, but she still does that. So with our products and services, we don't need to be the biggest or the baddest. We need to be the one who can solve that person's problem and, you know, be willing to take feedback. So hopefully this was helpful, guys. I got to be respectful to Gina. Gina, you want to introduce yourself? These are speakers from all over the world that are a part of SpeakerHub. So if you want to introduce yourself, go ahead. You're muted. We can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. Hi, everyone. I'm Gina, and today is my first meeting with Ron. I'm looking forward to speaking to him and getting to know him better and tell him a little bit about myself. So sorry I intruded on the ending of your meeting.
No, we're going too long. Tell us what you speak about.
I don't speak about anything yet, so that's why I started this journey in looking into SpeakerHub and then reaching out to you to schedule this meeting. I've spoken casually for work meetings as well as for some volunteer events, but never professionally. So that's something that I'm hoping to pursue.
All right, we'll help you. I promise you. Go, Gina. It's your birthday. Go, Gina. Okay. All right, guys, let me go ahead and be respectful to her time. But Tamika, hopefully this was helpful.
Very helpful.
And
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
you're welcome back anytime. We're here every day.
Thank you.
Dorian, good to see you. See y'all later.